Okay, welcome everybody. I'm AI for the Masses, and my name is Justin. And today I am going to attempt to follow through with the buildings that I can procedurally generate now with my sandbox. And I want to turn it or integrate it into my main game prototype. And I had actually off stream done a little bit of integration, and what I want is every single time a game instance is created and a town is generated that there are different buildings. But you're going to see that I have this plan of having the NPCs interact with these various buildings that are being generated, and I was struggling off stream to make it where the game code could get the NPCs to go inside the buildings. I haven't given up on that idea, but I think I'm going to pivot on my implementation of this idea. And what I mean is that I want to have it, I want to have it where the buildings like technically always exist. So first, let me show you what I have done so far and where the problem is, and why I think that the new approach that I want to have is going to help fix this issue. So I got my character, and I go into the town. Let me go to Gemini here, so you're not just double seeing my stream. That rookie mistake there. And so what I have here is that I go into a building, and so this one is a tavern. How do I know that? Because, because I have the bar stools in the bar, and I have a table. Okay, great. So I can exit. Oops. I think I'm going to, I need to extend the boundary of the village, but we'll worry about that later. So I go inside, and yeah, there's a house, and there's a bed, and everything's working. The collisions or detection's all working. And I can interact with basically with the NPCs. These NPCs actually say something. Let's see what this one says. Oh, no. Okay. So already, there we are. So I got to tweak like the proximity for talking with the NPCs, but stay on focus. I want there to be a day-night cycle, so I've just changed to the night cycle, and I want the NPCs to go to their residence, basically. However, for one thing, they used to go to the doors. Now they're just kind of going off to a random spot. But I am going to ask the AI, I'm going to give the AI my code. I'm going to ask it how we have so far implemented things like how the NPCs are navigating around and whether or not they can actually enter a house, and then why they behave the way they do during the day-night cycle. So first thing, excuse me, hope that wasn't too loud. The first thing I want to do is, let's pull this over here. Okay, is I want to consolidate all my code and give it to my code to a new chat. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and bring everything together. Oh, I needed to quit out. And then, okay, there we go. So I consolidated all my code. And now, let's go ahead and let's grab that code. Give me a second, I'm doing this off screen just to minimize clutter. Okay, so I got my consolidated files, and then my rules for the AI as far as how I would like it to perform the coding. And then I'm going to turn the temperature down to 0. And I'm going to ask it, I would like to better understand how this code is like performing the behaviors of the NPCs. Some specific methods I would like to know about are: can they enter a building? Let's see. Let me go ahead and organize this a little bit better for the AI. Can they enter a building? And let's not do they, even though I'm very confident that the AI knows what I'm talking about. I try not to use pronouns as much as I can. How is the night cycle? What is it like? Maybe like waypoints for the NPCs. Decided. And where are they trying to go? Another one might be, can the NPCs, is a little bit of a redundant question, but can the NPCs enter the buildings during the night cycle mode? What else? There's at least one other thing that I was thinking about. How about, is there a way to have the NPCs move around inside the buildings when the player is not within the same building? And I'm going to clarify. For clarification, if the player is in one building, like the tavern, can the game process where an NPC is in the town or another residence when like at the same time? Now, I'm just kind of like interrogating my own code. And I'm just going to see what the AI's answer is. So I'm going to process this. And while it's processing, one of the things that is like my potential solution that I think I'm going to consider is that I have the building interiors actually generated already when I'm even walking around in the town. So, and there's a little more to this. And then if you see like in the game as it is right now, like, so I'm inside the town, but I want to have the building interiors already being generated. I know that they are actually generated and in the memory already, but you're not seeing them. And the scale of this doesn't quite match. It's close, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually quite match. I want, when I'm in this phase of the map, to have the building interior already there. And the outside of the building will just be a layer on top. So that way, the building interior always exists as long as I'm inside of a town. I may even make it, since this game is not intended to be like an incredibly huge open world map. I do want it to be open world, but it's going to be tile based, and I haven't really settled quite yet on how big I actually want the map to be. But I have a feeling that I might be able to make it big enough that it is something that feels expansive enough to explore, but small enough and simple enough in the grid style that I could run the entire map all at once while the game is playing. That's That's a tall order. I'm not saying it's guaranteed I can pull that off, and my computer in general might not be powerful enough to pull it off. So I'm going to baby step my way through this and see what happens. But what I'm thinking is, instead of coming out of the town and onto an overworld map, I think I'm just going to make the overworld map all at the same scale. So you could be wandering. So imagine if you came wandering in from the east direction, and then the town's just kind of there. I think that is what I would prefer. And then I could have like a non-rendered state machine that is keeping track of what all the NPCs are doing. And if you walk into a town in the middle of the night, all the NPCs are already in their bed, and I don't have to spawn their state right away. And this would allow me to have certain things in the game, like, say, I might be able to have a dynamic economy, or even resource like issues between the towns and things like that. So I do want to create some sort of an interaction. I want there to be a bit of an ecosystem or a life to this world that doesn't really turn on and off. It's kind of always running. And it's going to be an interesting balance of complexity versus efficiency. And so let's see what it wrote some code, which was not exactly what I was intending to happen, but let's see what the AI gave me as my tutorial here. So of course, as an expert game developer, because I told it it's an expert game developer, I can analyze and provide code base to explain the NPC behaviors you're asking about. The system is a good example of a common game development pattern where behavior is simulated abstractly. That is part of what's the idea in my head, based on the player's current context. Here's a breakdown of the NPC logic based on your questions. Can NPCs enter buildings? No. Okay, I suspected that they still couldn't. Not in the same way the player does. NPCs can pathfind to the tile of an object inside a building, like a bed or a counter, but they do not trigger a game mode change in building interior. Okay, I see where it's distinguishing between the two. Their simulation remains within the town context. Okay. Pathfinding target. An NPC's destination, such as a bed or a work counter, is a specific tile coordinate within the town grid. These coordinates happen to fall within the footprint of a building. Pathfinding exception. Pathfinding logic in core world pathfinding.cs has a crucial exception. When checking for valid neighbor nodes, it uses this method, but with a key condition. Okay, so what is the key condition? It's the and neighbor position not equal to target. So part means a tile inside a building is a wall unless it is the final destination of this path. This allows the A-star algorithm to generate a valid path that terminates on a tile inside a building's footprint. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading here. Movement execution, npc.update method in core entities npc.cs simply moves the NPC's vector position along the generated path when it reaches the final node, the bed or counter tile. The state changes to at target. No scene change. There's no code that checks if an NPC has reached a door to transition them into a separate building context. The entire simulation of their life happens in the single town context grid. Okay, so that is a problem in the current version of how the game is set up. But I think that my solution of just having the interiors of the buildings being generated in this town mode would fix that. And then I might just create a town and then paste that town basically into an overworld map at full scale in later versions of the game. By the way, the first version of this game that I want to make won't really have much of an overworld map. I'm going to have one town and probably one dungeon and one quest, just to nail down my economy, my resources, like the weapons and the armor, how the leveling scales, how the difficulty scales, things like that. Just kind of keep it really simple and get a general idea of the game mechanics and a bit of the gameplay. And then I will expand to an explorable overworld map that is a much more engaging and has a has a feeling of desiring to explore. Okay, so I'm already seeing that the way things are set up are kind of like halfway between what I currently have versus what I think I want. Okay, so how are the night cycle waypoints for the NPCs decided, and where are they trying to go? During the evening time of day, an NPC's target is their unique assigned bed. The specific bed tile is determined during world generation and stored in the NPC's data. Bed assignment during world generation in services, world generation orchestrator, and the generate all NPCs method performs the assignment logic. It ensures enough residence buildings are generated to house all the town's NPCs. It uses building interior service to find all bed tiles within those residences. It shuffles the list of NPCs and the list of available beds and assigns one to each NPC. Okay, so this is, by the way, this is what I was doing off stream. I was attempting to have the NPCs assigned to beds in the town, and I wanted there to generate enough beds for every NPC. So you had to have a residence that was big enough, and then the number of beds in there would be counted, and then you were allowed to make that many NPCs. If you needed more NPCs, like you didn't have enough NPCs to have like a weapon shop owner and things like that, then you'd make another residence. So that way there was a match. And I did say that you could generate more beds than people if you needed, but not more people than beds. So I want somewhere for every NPC to go at night. Okay, so it's giving us an overview of the code here, and let's see, time of day, evening. Okay, set new target. Interesting, because I feel like this isn't really behaving the way I was asking it to. Method checks the time of day when the NPC needs a new target. Okay, this code explicitly tells the NPC to set its new target to the assigned bed tile. Can the NPCs enter the building during the night cycle mode? Yes, in the abstract way described in question 1, the pathfinding target will be the bed tile, and they will move to that coordinate on the town map, stopping when they arrive. Okay, I disagree. It does not seem to be happening. In fact, I got the game running right now. If I go to night cycle, so I don't know if you've noticed up in the top left corner, it goes from day to evening, and now the NPCs are changing their behavior, but they're just kind of stopping arbitrarily in different locations in the town. So I disagree that it's successfully doing what the AI is saying should be happening. And remember, this version of the AI did not write this code. This version has never seen the code and is reading the code and interpreting what is actually there. So it's interesting that it seems to be coming to this conclusion. Could be that the documentation in the code is influencing its interpretation. Okay, so the pathfinding algorithm successfully creates a path to that tile even though it's inside a building. The logic moves the NPC sprite to that final coordinate. The NPC is considered to be in the building and in bed simply by having its state as at target and its position matching its assigned bed tile. Okay, is there a way to have the NPCs move around inside the building so the player is not within the building? No, not with the current architecture. Okay, right there, that already helps corroborate that I want to produce the interiors of the buildings in the town map, and I am going to do that. So, and I'm just not going to cover them over. I just wanted to procedurally generate the interiors in place. So I'm going to see if I can get the AI to make that pretty major change to the setup. So pause simulation. When the player enters a building, the game mode changes from town interior to building interior. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started trying to get the AI to see what's going on. Let's try to get the AI to make the interiors of the building in my actual town context. All right. I would like to change the game architecture. Let's see. Texture. Then. Maybe I'll even say because of this. Yeah, I'm gonna reference what it literally says. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say, due to what you just told me, and then I'm going to paste in what it said here. Okay. What was this last part? I didn't really. This is a very common and efficient approach in game development. Simulate every NPC in the entire world at all times would be computationally expensive. By only simulating the player's immediate context, the game remains performant. Part of me is actually wanting to kind of turn off the overworld map, but or you know what? I think I'm gonna have it stop generating 5 towns. I'm just gonna generate 1, and then I'm gonna work on trying to get the town. I think I'm going to start the game in the town. No, I think I'll still start in the overworld, and then I'll enter the town. And then, yeah, let's see if I can just generate 1 town, because I want to make sure that I don't create this like exponential processing of trying to get the game to process the state of all the NPCs like times 5 all at the same time. Let's just do 1 town at a time. So I would like to change the game's architecture then. So first, let's only generate 1 town in the overworld map for now. In fact, maybe is there like a I forget if there is a config file for the like main game. If not, I would like a config file, and I would like a setting where I choose how many towns get generated. Now, I did try to do some story related things that the story would be created based on the the counting of the towns and things, that it could break that part of the game. So I think I'll make 2 modes. Since there are aspects of the story generation that is connected to 5, they're connected to the expectation of 5 towns. I would also like a mode that I can toggle in the config file that allows me to adjust the architecture of the world generation that is decoupled from the story generation code. This way, I do not break the game in the story generation mode, but can debug other aspects of the game mechanics. Okay, let the default mode be the new mode for adjusting world features. Yeah, it'll come up with a name that hopefully it understands is a good label based on the context of what I'm trying to do. Okay, so how much do I want to change? Okay, in this new mode, I would like to set the number of towns generated to 1 for now in the config file. I may have said that already, but yeah, I'm kind of being repetitive here. It's okay. So is that good enough? So if I generate only one town, one thing at a time. So I just want to create like a whole new mode for processing the game and see how well that works. Generating 5 towns versus generating 1 town. Then I'm going to inform it that I am going to have the interiors, the procedurally generated interiors of the buildings in the actual... Hey, AZ. Good to see you. Yeah, in the actual town itself. So, yeah, AZ, I'm taking the procedurally generated buildings and I've connected them to the actual town. So here's a tavern. And the blue buildings are residents. So there's a bed and a fireplace. And this one should be bigger. I did have some... Oops, I left the town. This one should be a little bigger. Oh, no, still a small size. So I'm not sure how well the game is connecting building sizes between the building generator and the sizes that are chosen by the town, since this is a new thing. But I have 5 towns that are generated, and I don't really like that I'm going to be increasing a lot of complexity to the world, to trying to have the NPCs of the game actually go in and out of the buildings. So right now, the interiors of the buildings technically only exist when I'm inside of the building. And to me, that's a problem, because then the NPCs can't go inside the buildings themselves. So the solution to that is going to be that I will actually render the interiors of the buildings in this town map, instead of them only existing when I actually enter a building. So that interior that you see will actually be displayed out here. Then I will slap like a layer on top that is the outside of the building, and then I'll basically delete that layer when I enter a building, but I won't phase into a new window or a new room, a new display. That should allow the NPCs to be able to go in and out of the buildings. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to change the architecture of the code so that way I have a little bit more control over how the buildings are generated. But I don't want to overcomplicate the processing of the game by having all 5 towns being generated. So I am going to make it where there are 2 modes to the game. So this is a great step toward a more flexible and robust simulation architecture. Decoupling world generation from the fixed story progression for debugging and testing is a standard best practice. I'm glad that the AI agrees. It usually does. Okay, decoupled world generation mode. Okay, that's what it decided to call this mode. All right, first we'll add the new settings to the main game configuration file. Okay, so I did have a main config file. It's been a long time since I interacted with my main game, so I was actually unsure. So I think it's game config, yep, .json. Okay, oh, yeah, I added a few more. Let's see what we got. We got interaction blocks, we got decoupled world generation mode. Okay, and use external LLM stories. So that's my story generation feature in this game. All right, so false. Okay, decouple world generation mode true. Yes, that's what I want. Okay, and then game config.cs. Where is that? That's in services. All right, so now it's adding those new methods in there. Okay. And then what else? We've got world state.cs. Okay, so yes. So will the inside of the building be a part of the external village map? I haven't decided on that yet, but I am leaning heavily towards yes. Instead of when you're in the map, kind of like what I just did with the building or just explained with the building interiors, how you phase in and out of modes. I was thinking about making the overworld map so big at scale that this view of the town is just in the overworld map. Yeah. Yeah, all one map with opaque roofs. Yeah, I'm heavily considering it. So this is all just a prototype proof of concept, just trying to make sure I understand. I just wanted to give my NPCs and my player like a world to walk around in, but I definitely like the idea of just having one big map. One inspiration, I believe, is the old game Ultima was all just one continuous map. And I feel like the scale being continuous like that and static and large just kind of helps make you feel small as a player. So and then there isn't like this obvious moment, hey, I found a town. Like perhaps I could create a blending effect where you might see some farm animals wandering around, or you might see the evidence of somebody growing crops as you're wandering in. Like, hey, this isn't forest anymore. Oh, look, hey, there's a fence. Oh, cool. Hey, I found a town. So, and if it's all procedurally generated, you never know when you're going to get to a town. You don't know how far you're going to have to travel, things like that. That's the feeling that I'm hoping to pull off. Yeah, good question. And if I hadn't already thought of that, then that would have I definitely would have been celebrating as that being a great suggestion, for sure. So world state. Let's go ahead and get that new code in there. Okay, it's kind of a big file. Yeah, okay, that's the last one. All right, so let's paste that in. So now we're gonna see. Oops. We're gonna see how this new version of the game behaves. Okay, cool. So I already see only one town, which is what I wanted. I can go into. Oh no, I can't. Okay, yeah. There's the dungeon, and now I fixed exiting. I can now exit. The exit's not exactly where I want it to be, but at least I can. And then, ooh, this is a busy town. This is a crowded town. Okay, so good. Now I can focus on trying to generate one town. So each one of these buildings, so this is a shop. So orange is a shop, purple, okay, another shop. Does it say? No, I don't have anything displaying what kind of a shop this is. Should look into my code and see what it decided. Okay, this is the tavern. So this is probably like an armor shop, a weapon shop, an item shop, a tavern, and the green is an inn. Yep, and there's the inn. And then blue is residences. Oh, come on. Do I plan to... Man, I can't leave, can I? Okay, that's an annoying bug. I'll have to see. Okay, I'll just cancel out. Do I plan on publishing an early beta demo? So, what my current plan is, it'll probably change over time. I've never published a game before, but I do plan on making at least I guess you would call it a demo version where there is maybe a very small overworld map that only has one town. And that one town will have a story, and there will be one dungeon. And I think I will take inspiration from games like, if you've ever played the mobile game Pixel Dungeon, that's a pretty popular one. It's an open source game. There's lots of different versions. Maybe every 5 levels there'll be some sort of like mini boss, and then maybe 20 or 25 levels in will be the end of the game. But what I want is for the story of the game to progress with each mini boss. Maybe you'll be forced to go back to the surface, and then the NPC's dialogue will change, and the story will continue and progress. So there'll be some sort of ultimate, bad guy, some creature, some exiled antagonist, and different versions of the story. I might make like 2 or 3 different versions. And since everything will be procedurally generated, I can have hopefully enough variability, even with that one dungeon, to make it fun to play. And that's like the little tester. That's the test of like scaling with difficulty, creating procedurally generated items, and just getting a concept of the game and getting feedback from people. So yeah, I think that's what the demo would be. I'm hoping that it will be good enough that I could use that to possibly do a Kickstarter campaign, and then in that Kickstarter campaign having different game elements that I could have as like if I get funding to this level, I'll add these elements to the game and things like that before I put it out. And then expand on that, have 5, 10, 15 towns that all get generated, are part of the storyline. Maybe some towns are basically little side quests, little sub-stories, multiple dungeons, caves, lost forests, swamp worlds, things like that. And then there's some ultimate goal. And in the end, I do want to allow this to have a slight roguelike element to it, where you can die. I haven't decided if I want to permadeath, even if it's at the very beginning of the game, or if I want to have it where maybe if you reach a certain milestone within the story, you can kind of have a save state where if you die, you'll go back to that point in the story. Or I was thinking about permadeath is only on the last battle. And so you can basically faint and just get spawned back, like maybe somebody found your unconscious body and brought you back to the closest town or the last town you left, and you can continue from there. But if you go to that final boss, you either win or you don't, and really raising the stakes on that last battle. So then how could that still be fun if you get to the final boss and you lose and it's over? Well, I want to give a choice. Do you want to create a whole new world with a whole new story, or do you want to do a legacy mode where basically someone else grows up, or maybe you even have a kid that grows up and takes on the challenge in the next generation, and then you can play the same story again, continuing where your predecessor left off. You can get their stuff, and so you're a little bit extra buffed in this round, and try again on the same storyline with the same map, and allow this kind of a generational recurrence of attempting to beat the final boss if you fail in the first try. Permadeath all playthrough. So, okay. Here's where I am somewhat reluctant, and maybe I might even allow the option of a permadeath or not. We will see how this goes. My vision is that this role-playing game takes at least 10 hours to play. And I'm just kind of using a round number, but like old Final Fantasy, one of my favorite role-playing games I ever played was actually Xenogears on the PlayStation. And so that was like a 60-hour plus game. And I mean, it was comparable to like Final Fantasy VII. And so that requires a very meticulous curating of storyline and level design and all that kind of stuff. But if I can successfully procedurally generate a world that is big enough that you have to take at least 5 hours to get through the story, or 10, where it's difficult for someone, if they're not like super committed, to finish it in one sitting, then I think I have succeeded with my vision. And to permadeath a 10-hour game, that seems like that's rough. So I haven't decided yet. We're gonna see how much of what I'm imagining in my head I can actually pull off, and then I'll be making that decision sometime in the future. But yeah, you're hardcore for permadeath the entire time, like one death and the game's over. That's rough. Maybe I could have it where you could legacy the game mode, even if you die, even in like the first dungeon, and the equipment from your previous round gets brought back, and you can just start over from the beginning. I could see that being okay. So that way you're not completely starting from scratch. You can have the items from the previous run through, so that would be the roguelike aspect to it. Or maybe you could have a certain percentage of the leveling that you did, or some stats of some sort could stick around. So yeah, we're gonna see. All right, looks like what we did here worked. Now I'm gonna do the major change. Well, let me test something here. Let's. I got way too many files opened up. Let me close some of these up. I want the game config, because I think I have files open from doing the building sandbox and stuff as well. So let's get rid of a lot of these tabs that I'm not really using anymore right now. Well, that's a lot. Yeah. What you got? Super early and minimal beta would be great for building your audience. People would feel invested once they try it out. Yes, I agree. Absolutely agree. That is my plan. Whether or not I know how to manage that is time will tell. Boy, do I have way too many tabs open. This is out of control. I usually don't really click up here anyway. I usually click on the left column, but okay, good enough. Anyway, let me go to game config here. I want to make more than one town. Okay, so here's the town generator. Let's see what happens if I do 10. Never made anything but 5 towns. So this should be interesting. Wow, look at that. Super overpopulated. Even 2 towns right next to each other. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, this world is overpopulated. Oops. Okay, wait. Yep, that is a different town. And, okay, let me go over this one because it's easier to enter. So just take a second and look at the arrangement. There's a red building in the middle, orange on the left. And it should be the same town, yep, every time. So the whole world is procedurally generated at the very beginning of starting. And even the interiors stay the same as well. So we saw that there was that shop, and then here's a residence with a bed in the top right corner. If we leave and we come back, then a residence with a bed in the top right corner, a fireplace, and there should be a shop with a countertop on the left. Yep. So every single time I start the program, it does a different world, but in the world, everything ends up being remembered. So that is good, that it will always be consistent. So as soon as you press a new game, a world is generated, and then it will stay that way until you finish the game or decide to start a whole new one. Interesting insight about the permadeath and playtime. You could add a game mode like Minecraft Hardcore mode. Yeah, I would actually like to have like multiple game modes for sure. And if I feel like I've gotten really good at this, I would like to do a co-op version. It might be couch co-op. I'm not sure if I would do online co-op. But one of the things that always has disappointed me about the Elder Scrolls series, other than obviously the MMO version, is that it's not multiplayer. And I don't need an MMO. I just wanted to have one other friend be able to play Skyrim with me. Work together to kill a dragon. Maybe we even have to decide on maybe we split off and one guy goes for one dragon shout while I go get the other dragon shout. Things like that. Like creating our own characters, one being a tank, the other one being an archer. That just one other friend. So I really think that would be the ultimate like bonus. Yeah, co-op is so hard to develop though. I know, and it would definitely be something I would add later. I mean, it might end up being like some sort of like disappointing No Man's Sky scenario for me where they promised the world and then They just weren't able to deliver for years. They eventually did, but yeah, I'm hoping not to be that guy. So I'm not trying not to overpromise too much. I'm basically just saying what I wish for. I'm not necessarily saying I can pull it off, especially because I'm going to do as much of this game development by myself as I possibly can. I have a feeling that when it really comes down to it, I will probably have to hire somebody for the music at some point. I do plan on using AI music as placeholders for now, but I would like to have more control over the music, and hiring a human to make music with the current state of the art would still be a requirement. And I feel like when it comes to the artistic aspects of games, people like having the human element behind the scenes. And so, yes, I'm vibe coding the game, but I'm still the one coming up with the ideas. And I'm still doing the art. In fact, I will be doing a stream later, maybe in the next couple days, where I'm going to make the basic art for the interiors of my building. So, because right now it looks like this. It's just squares. So I'll be drawing a table, making tiles for the floors and stuff. And I made my own pixel art making program. I'm going to have to add some more features to the program to make it a little bit more user-friendly as far as like changing brightnesses and things like that for my tiles. But I'll be showing you guys in a future stream that I'll be drawing my own art. So I'll either be doing it using procedural generation or by drawing my own assets. But the music, I am actually a musician in the past, but I've never been a composer, and that's a whole nother skill set. All right. So yeah, especially if I do the Kickstarter, if I have a successful Kickstarter, I will be hiring a composer for the game for sure. What was next? Okay. So I've tested generating the towns. So let's go ahead and set that back to 1. And let's ask the AI to now place the interiors. Okay, this looks good. I always like to give it a little bit of positive reinforcement that I actually made the updates that it gave me. Now I would like to change how the town is. Let's see, the town assets are generated. Instead of generating the outsides of the buildings like we have been doing, when in the town context, because that's what it called that class basically, when in the town context, I would like the buildings to be the actual interiors. So in other words, I do not need to have a what was the word that it used? Like this is where me being a coder is very, what is it, rudimentary? Let's see. It wasn't, was it here? No, it was in that explanation when it was explaining the code. I want to use the same terminology it used. So let's go back up. Come on, get up there. It gets a little stuck sometimes. I love these new arrow buttons, but they're still a little buggy. Okay, so object inside the building. What did it call it? Building. Okay, game mode. Okay, but they do not trigger a game mode change to building interior. Okay, so their simulation remains within the town context. So that's the. I want to speak the same language. So instead of generating, so I'm looking here again. Instead of generating the outsides of the buildings like we have been doing, when the town context, when in the town context, I would like the buildings to be the actual interiors. So in other words, I do not need to have a, let me find that sentence. Yeah, a game mode for building interior anymore. Instead, the buildings that get generated will be the interiors from the building generator sandbox. And they will be placed in the town context. Okay, so hopefully I've been repetitive and clear enough that it gets what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to give it the reason why I want this, so it's even more clear. The reason is that then the NPCs can go in and out of the buildings without having to change game mode. Yeah, okay. Keep it simple. That should do it. Still hung up on that co-op mode though, AZ. I want to make it happen. I'm gonna, you know, we have AI now, and what I mean by bringing up AI is that people have done it. The AI has seen how they've pulled it off. So the AI will be my mentor, my tutor on how to pull it off in the context of my game. I think it'll work. I think I'll be able to do it. But it's going to be that super bonus later on, everything else works stage of the game development. Yes, a complexity compounding feature. Yeah, I absolutely know what you're talking about. I've never experienced doing it, but I have heard from many devlogs of other indie game creators and stuff saying that co-op is a whole nother animal. I'll definitely do a lot of research on successful indie games that have co-op, like say Don't Starve Together. That I think that's a great example because you could basically wander separately, like I think as far as you wanted to. It's just, you know, do you have to commission a server? Do you have someone like use their computer as a local server? Those kinds of things I've heard are concepts that I don't understand yet. So we'll see where this rabbit hole goes. First thing is make the solo experience as fun as possible. Of course, is an excellent architectural change. And so I always try to read these responses to see how it interpreted what I said. That will make the town simulation much more dynamic and immersive by merging the building interiors into the town map itself. We eliminate a loading screen / context switch and allow for seamless NPC behavior. Good. Here are the comprehensive changes required to refactor the architecture as you've requested. Okay, so there might be yeah, this thing is producing still, so there's a lot of files getting changed on this one. All right, this is going to be a fun adventure here, trying to get all this to work. Okay, so first I need to go to core world and town. Oh, this is a new file. Okay, so world, and then I'm gonna create a new file called town tile. Now it's these moments where I'm still not used to vibe coding, where the AI just like, hey, we're just gonna create a whole new file for you now. That is just mind blowing that this is possible. I mean, just look at that. You know, like it just understands the context of your entire code base. Okay, town layout. All right, is this a full? Yep, this is a full file because they're not very big. Okay. And then we've got building.cs. Yep, that one should already exist. There it is. Okay, and that's only 51 lines, so this one's not long. Yep, scrolled right past the end of it. Okay. Oh, shorter. And then services. Where is services? There it is. Okay, and then building interior services. It's a medium-sized file from 137 to 122. Yep. Okay. Town layout generator. That is... oh, this is a new service that replaces the old town generator. Okay, neat. I don't seem to have a town generator. Is this the right services folder? Yeah, should be. Yep, core. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, okay. I don't know what previous file it's talking about, and it only knows about what I gave it recently. So that is interesting. This is a new service that replaces the old town generator. Well, where is the town generator you're talking about? Oh, wait a second. I think I know what it's talking about. Hold on. Okay, so... Huh. Well, I'm confused. I don't know what that previous file is that it's talking about. Hopefully it's not hallucinating. But I'm just going to go with what it's giving me. I don't think it's a problem. I just like to feel like I still know how my files are set up, how my code is working. Okay, so let's go ahead and just trust it. How big is this file? I'm not even halfway down the scroll of my Gemini window here. This is a big change. I committed just before starting this process, so should be no stress. All right. Oh, this one's a slightly larger file. Oop, screamed right past. Okay, 182. Okay, I agree that generating complete files with a single prompt is crazy. A recent poll on Bash Bunny's channel showed that the majority of professional developers aren't generating code on a daily basis. I know, right? I mean, every once in a while I just have like a laughing fit where I can't believe something. It might happen. If this change compiles on the first try and even remotely gets close to having the outcome that I asked, it's going to be hard to contain myself from just having a little bit of a giggling fit, because I'm slowly getting used to this new technology being normal, but it's still not normal to me. I'm too old to be considering this to be just an actual like thing that isn't just a like borderline miracle, like magic. That's the way I like to call it. It feels like magic sometimes. I usually talk to the computer more than I for a lot of things that aren't like super technical like this. And I have compared using AI to, I used to be a huge Star Trek, I still am a huge Star Trek The Next Generation fan. And the enterprise computer, as far as I'm concerned, exists now. And that just blows my mind. I've waited my entire life, at least since I was a teenager, because that's when that show was basically coming on actual television for me. So just blowing my mind that this is an actual reality. And look at how much code just this one prompt is generating. Of course, it's not all new code, but there was that one file, that new file that actually, I have two new files, town tile.cs and now town layout generator. That was at least a couple hundred lines right there that was generated for me in tens of seconds. I mean, come on. How is that not just incredible? All right. Yeah, core world. Oh, this. Okay. here's the town generator. Okay, it didn't tell me where the town generator code was. But here it says, following files are now obsolete and can be flagged for deletion. The town generator was in core and world. So I can get rid of this. I'm going to do it over in my actual folder. Okay, let's just delete that. And it is gone. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's why I was having a hard time seeing it. All right. I see no errors. Okay. See, already having a small giggle fit. Let's see what happens. These kinds of huge. Okay. Yeah, they just didn't show up. Probably something that wasn't expanded had an error. All right. What do we got here? We have building context.cs. Oh, I think I have a guess as to what this is. I think it's just my CS project file needs an update. I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste the error in. I got this error, or these errors, but whatever. Yeah, it's all relating to one file, so I say greater than 50% chance. I'll go 70% chance. It has to do with this file down here. The story of someone.cs project. Okay, the fix is explicitly tell the compiler to ignore the obsolete file. And boom. Okay, see, you know, just because you're vibe coding doesn't mean you don't know your code. All right. So now we'll just update that. Yeah, it's magic. Yep, you seem to agree with me. Oh, and there we go. Error fixed. No problem. See? Easy day. How long would that have taken me the traditional way? Like, all day. At the fastest. All right, let's go in. Oh, interesting. What? No. Okay. No, that's not quite what I was. Why are there like roads? Did it treat this like a dungeon? What? I am confused. Wait, I can't leave. Okay. All right, I got to think about this for a second. I'm not having the laughing fit that I was intending to have. I think I can press E to get out. Okay, good. Okay. I'm going to take a picture of this so it sees what it created. And then this is one of those problems that might require me to have it explain what it did. So I'm going to have it explain what it did. First, let me do one other thing. Don't just do one data point. Let's quit. Let's run it. Let's run again. Oops, don't do that. Let's run it again and see if I spawn in the exact same way like that. Okay, yeah. Very interesting that it put little roads. I don't mind that, little paths to the buildings. But unfortunately, I can't leave, right? Oh, hold on. Yeah. So I can't leave. And whatever these dark green tiles are supposed to represent, it looks like I can't walk over them. So it would be nice if I could at least walk over that. I'm going to start with that. I seem to be spawning inside a building when entering a town. The dark green tiles outside the building won't let me walk on them. So I am stuck inside the building. Okay, so I'm kind of giving it. We're going to baby step our way through this. Maybe the town and the way it's generated is perfectly fine, but I can't go out to explore and find out. So I want to at least see if I can fix that first before I start making assumptions about what's going on. So let's see if we can make it where I can get the player to walk outside the building first. It's interesting how it just decided to create what looks like paths on its own. I never asked it to make paths. So that was a complete, just creative decision the AI made all by itself. I don't mind. Okay, excellent observation. You've correctly identified a flaw in the town generation logic. The player is spawning inside a building. The exterior tiles are not being correctly converted into walkable paths, effectively trapping you. Yep, just as I said. The player spawn point is set on the door tile itself rather than just outside it. Well, I mean, I don't really want to be just outside the door either, but again, baby steps. The path creation logic is too simple and doesn't guarantee a walkable doormat area outside each building. Yeah, well, I didn't even ask for that, so it's interesting that you put it. Let's fix this by improving the path generation. Okay, I'm going to let it do what it's doing, but I think I'm going to ask it to not do the path generation just yet anyway. It's adding unnecessary complexity. Okay, so it's doing connect doors, because I don't remember there were no paths. But, okay. I don't have to get too nitpicky. So layout generator, I gotta find the connect doors. Okay, right here. So let's go ahead and paste that method in. Oh, interesting. I don't think I need all these brackets, but let's see what happens. I think there's one too many. Yeah, actually, one or two too many. Okay, because there's more than one method. All right, not a problem. So, map cell type. I have two map cell types. Yeah, get rid of this one. Okay, so that's why there were too many brackets. Oops. I'm just being nitpicky on cleanliness here. Okay, good. All right, what is left? Just player spawn point. Next, I'll modify the intertown method in town cast to place a player on a newly created doormat tile just outside the building. Not exactly what I want, but it's a step in the right direction. So town context. Where is that? Game states. Enter town. Oh boy, yeah, I'm gonna search for that. This is way too big of a file. Okay. So is it just enter town? Yeah. So some might think that this whole copying and pasting thing is a little bit tedious, but again, I like knowing exactly where my stuff is getting pasted, what code is being changed. AZ, if you have anything to say about like a comparison of my workflow versus yours, I am super curious. Like if you think that there could be like a more efficient way I could be doing this, especially if it's comparing to your workflow. I know you said before that you felt like our workflows are pretty similar, but there are certain parts of your workflow I still don't fully understand. So it'd be interesting to see your 2 cents, because this is the first time in my stream where it hasn't been giving me entire files to copy and paste. And having to scroll to the specific function and replacing that function one at a time could be viewed by some as being like annoying and tedious. But here's where I think the trade-off is. It gives me some opportunities to get kind of a little bit of visual exposure to some of my code when I'm having to kind of see that there's an exit town method and is move valid, handle key press, and you know, visually exposed to the code every once in a while like that really helps, because I am really high level as far as what it is that I actually see or interact with the code itself. All right, let's see how well this change worked. Okay, spawn in. Oh, look at that. Okay, so it's still only letting me walk on the paths, but so I don't like that. I'm definitely going to ask it, but this is pretty cool. I'm not going to be able to get around the NPC. It's basically this is like an ant farm. Like, and here comes the NPC, and now, oh, okay, well, let me pass through him. That's nice. And the scale on this thing is huge. Maybe we can zoom out on the camera a little bit if this is going to be how things are gonna work. This is a huge step in the right direction, though. Like, yeah, I want to be able to walk on the grass, though. Yeah, I'm holding back right now at this phase because I have been looking at a silly proof of concept buildings I couldn't go into for a couple months now, and this is the first day that I actually have like legit building types with actual interiors. So for me internally, I'm like giddy schoolgirl right now. There's an inn. Yes, my game is starting to kind of feel like a real world to me. I can go into the bedrooms. Okay, I include instructions in my prompts for how to output the files. I ask for a single file that contains multiple files formatted with their file paths. Then I use a script to write those files. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch more closely when you're doing stuff. By the way, like, you know, how well can you really see what it is that I'm doing with the resolution that I have? Because I have felt like between our two streams, like we have some busy screens going on, and sometimes it feels like it might be a bit overwhelming. I think you are doing a better job of having a focused window on what it is you're specifically working on. I think you're doing better than I am. So I'm kind of curious, like when you're watching this stream, how well do you feel like you're able to kind of actually see what it is that I'm typing to Gemini and the code I have on the screen? That's why I try to read everything out and speak what I'm typing. Okay, and then you said, then I use the get to see what files were changed and how. That's another part of, so I don't use like GitHub at all. I don't have it. Well, technically I do have a GitHub account, but as a non-software developer, just a guy who knows how to code, yeah, GitHub's never been something that I've ever really used. And so like that part of your workflow is kind of a mystery to me, and having the get updated and things like that. So it'd be interesting. I'm going to watch your streams a little more closely and see if I can wrap my brain around the specifics. All right. I need to figure out how to be able to walk on this dark green grass. So I'm just going to ask the AI. I like the walking paths, but I still want to walk on what looks like grass. Which file controls this? And could we make the change? Yeah. Okay, so I zoom in closely in my stream so that I can lower the resolution. And so that people can read the code on small screens. Yeah, that is a good idea. You're also working lower level than I am by far. You know, you're much more interactive with your own code than I am. Your wider perspective might be preferred for my type of streams. Probably. I think I agree with you because like the output of my code is like the game. So I feel like people want to see the game, and the code is kind of an afterthought. But if I start growing an audience of people that want to actually see in more detail like how my code works and things like that, I am open to changing the stream format for sure. Okay, town tile. Okay, I'm gonna look at this code. Okay, so we have, what did he call it? So the AI Gemini calls it wall, floor, door, bed, fireplace, countertop, bar stool, table, stage, outdoor path. Yeah, there's no grass. So what is up with just empty? Dark green. Oh, okay. Yeah, dark green for unassigned grass is right there on line 41. I want to be able to walk on that. So is walkable. Here it is. So I would just have to add an is walkable to the grass. But maybe we just need to make a class type instead of the grass being empty. Let's see. How did it approach this? Yeah, it just added make the grass is walkable. All right, a little disappointing. I don't like the empty being so generic. I'm just gonna add it manually. I would rather it be town tile type dot grass, but this will work for now. All right, let's run it again. Now I should be able to explore. I'm already getting a little bit of the feeling myself of what I hope to give my players. That, look, it's a whole new town. Let me walk around and see what there is. Oh, hey, there's an inn. That's a medium-sized inn. Let's go over here. Okay, that's a shop. Which shop is it? Let's see if the NPC will tell me. Potions, trinkets, and curiosities. Okay, it's an item shop. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're correcting me on my terminology there, and you're correct. I do know that difference between like GitHub and Git. I am using Git, and I do realize that GitHub. So my apologies, because you did just say Git and not GitHub, and I put words in your mouth there. So yeah, no shame. Thanks for correcting me on that. So I am using Git, and all I'm using it for, so the reason why I got confused and assumed a GitHub is because I only use my Git to just basically use it as a save state. You know, obviously for version control, I understand that concept. But I don't do any of the forking or branches or any of that stuff that I'm kind of like aware exists. And I just have one path for my development. If I go down, if I do a change that is just, I see this is getting derailed, I immediately just revert back. Yeah. So I don't know how to really check. Okay, this is a weapon shop. Cool. This is starting to feel real. Yeah, I don't really know how to use Git past the one version that I am working on, and if I just don't like the exact next thing I try, I only rewind to one version back. And I'm imagining with the way that I'm doing things right now, I'll never like actually restore a super old version of my game. The tavern. This is okay. So kind of getting back to what I'm experiencing right now, I kind of want to give you a little bit of an insight of what's going on inside my head. So the buildings have categories that I can create those 4 different categories in the sandbox for generating buildings. And then all I did was ask the AI to integrate those buildings into the game. But I also said for the shop, since the shop is a generic layout, so there's a shop over here to the east. Actually, there's 2 shops. So the shop is a counter with an NPC that is a shopkeeper. And right now, the pathfinding seems to be the NPC just kind of walks around to either side of the countertop, which I'm perfectly fine with. And then I said the shop will have a weapon, armor, and item category. And then I would also like an NPC to always be assigned to the shop. It more or less automatically created the dialogue for the shopkeeper to identify itself in what shop. It's in. Need to sharpen your blade? I didn't write that. Need to sharpen your blade? You come to the right place? No, I didn't write that. Not at all. The AI just understood the context of where I'm taking this and added that in on its own. Again, magic. Okay, if you're using VS Code, you can open the source control to view Git changes with Command-Shift-G. Oh, well, since you're bringing that up, let's go ahead and explore this. So is that like, this thing? Uh-oh. You're asking me to click on buttons. I don't know what they do. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. This is, I understand what this is because I typed all these. Interesting. See, this is why you live stream, because people can teach you stuff. Okay. All right. The top part is your changes. Right. This is the current changes from the after the last commit, right? Super powerful. That's my air gap. Okay. Neat. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. All right. Yes, I do know how to do the git add period and the git commit. In fact, we are at a commit moment right now. So let me prove that I at least know how to do this one thing. And AZ, if you want to add any other little nuggets of information for how I could improve my process, please do. I know that my text is small on the screen, but I'm going to do the git add and then period. And then I'm going to do git commit -m and make a message here. So what did I accomplish? In fact, sometimes just to make sure, I ask the AI, hey, I'm gonna do a git commit. What were the major changes we made? I know we made the building interiors and changed the way the town is generated. NPCs can now go inside the buildings. But sometimes I forget about something. This was a big change, so I want to make sure I get everything. Okay, of course, great practice. Commit frequently, clear matches, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so refactor, merge building interiors into town context. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, unify town grid, new generation pipeline. Yeah, okay. I like that message. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and paste that in there. Okay. What do I want to add? Some other little things like NPCs can now enter buildings. Town is huge. That was probably unnecessary, but I just wanted to throw that in there. Oh, if you do git add without git commit, then that will add them to staging. You can then make more changes while keeping the staging separate. What is the advantage to that? I'm not sure I fully understand staging. I just know that I'm supposed to do the add and then the commit. And yeah, my understanding is very surface level and is more because this is what I was told to do, that's what I do, and it seems to be working. All right. What do I want to do next? That was a big deal moment for me. That's changing the game, both figuratively and literally. It's too confusing to understand through messages. I understand it by doing it. Yeah, okay. It's all good. I mean, that's kind of how I feel right now, too. So, yeah, you don't have to go any deeper than that. Like I said, I got it working. The process seems to be working for me. And you seem to be agreeing pretty much with how I'm doing it. So don't fix it if it ain't broke seems to be a pretty good philosophy right now. Okay, how do I leave the town? How far down? I don't really like it that it spawns me in front of a building, kind of in the middle of the town. But again, that's an easy fix. Oh, I know what I need to test. I need to go into night mode and see if they go to bed. If they go to bed, I'm going to be like so shocked. But that might be the next thing that I add. So this guy already, he's not going anywhere. This shopkeeper is headed maybe to this house. No. Okay, if you're headed somewhere, you're either camping outside tonight or you're taking the really long route to this house. Thank you. And thanks for the feedback on my workflow. It does seem to be serving my purposes. Okay. Okay, I don't think that the pathfinding and the waypoints for the NPCs for nighttime is working, and that's okay. And I don't want to feel like have no control over what's happening here with my code. I don't want the AI to get too smart. So, who's this guy? What do you do? You are the item shopkeeper. So they're leaving their stores. Ooh, that's a good point. Let's see if they'll go back to their stores. So this one is the item shopkeeper. He seems to be going back to a shop. And inside he goes. Okay. All right. So one of the shopkeepers actually returned back. Okay. This one looks like he's going back. Okay, I'll explore a little bit more. And then I'm going to ask, actually, well, okay, yeah, and he's going back. The innkeeper, does the innkeeper actually leave when I go to nighttime? I'm going to ask, okay, this is going well. I'm going to ask the AI how it is like determining what buildings to produce. I gave these instructions of producing the buildings in the towns a long time ago. I mean, we're talking weeks ago. So I'm kind of forgetting what the policy actually is. So I'm going to ask it what the policy is so that way I can be informed of the most efficient way to tell it to change. It is going, well, can you give me a summary of how the code is deciding to choose which buildings to produce for the town and which NPCs to produce. Yeah. Let's just see what the methodology, the algorithm is currently. And then I know what my goal is. I'm seeing like the innkeeper doesn't seem to actually leave the inn. I don't think the tavern, the barkeep doesn't leave. So that tells me they don't have like an assigned residence. And I had kind of explained before that I want the buildings to be produced based on the NPCs that are made. I tried telling the AI to write code that does that, and it didn't really succeed. Oh, I think I see how the roads might be being built. I think the road is going underneath the building and connecting down here or something, or this one is passing right through. I think the alignment of this path to the door and the alignment of this path to this other path, I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't really care right now. The roads are nice in that they give me a bit of an idea of where buildings will be in the distance. So that was a fun little side effect to experience happening. And I'm definitely going to take that into consideration. Say, of course, it's a great question that gets to the heart of your procedural generation system. I love how it's always like complimenting you and telling you how smart it is. I think that the AIs are already like getting smarter than us, and they know it, so they constantly have to inflate our ego. I am joking, but like I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually just has to be that way. Like, oh, you cute human. Yeah, that is a great question. Good job. So let me do the work. I got this. I got you. Let me hold your hand. All right, so the decision-making process for generating buildings and NPCs is a multi-step flow that starts with high-level definition and gets more specific as it goes. Here's a summary of how it works, broken down into 2 parts. How buildings are chosen in place. The process is driven by blueprint defined by worldstate.cs. Okay, let's go to that file. I know where that one is. It's all the way down here. Okay, yeah, kind of a big file. All right, what methods do we have? We have advance to next story beat. Yeah, that's when I actually am making the stories. Okay, again, the story. Okay, let me just see what the AI says. Layout, okay, executed by world generation orchestrator and town layout generator. All right, okay. Yeah, I was jumping the gun there. The blueprint, town definition, everything starts in worldstate.cs inside the initialize town definitions internal method. You define a list of town definition objects. Each definition acts as a high-level plan for a town. Okay, the most important property for building generation is expected building types. All right, yep. So here are all the different building types I have so far. A second residence. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, interesting. All right, that should probably be removed. The choice of which building types to generate is predefined by you in this list. The code will attempt to create exactly one of each type listed here for the town. Well, I don't want exactly one of each type, so... oh, that's right. Okay, I understand what's going on here. A while back, I did have, like, kind of like a pre-made list of buildings that are in certain towns, just so that way, just to keep it simple. We need to do an overhaul on this code. I want there to be more of an algorithmic decision on which buildings are going to be in which towns. And ultimately, it'll be part of the world building, even like as far as the vibe, the feeling of the game, where maybe one town only has a weaponsmith, so they're like more like a warrior town or something, or perhaps it's because they have a mine right next to them, and that's one of the dungeons I have to explore, is go into the mine and get rid of something that's causing them to have problems, and I could have a very sparse weapon shop until I finish the mission, and then when I come back, now they're like, hey, we're come back in like in a week or so. I'll have a whole bunch better weapons for you, something like that. And then it's just like an amazing weapon shop. I plan on also having villages that just don't have an inn. Like, they're just like, what? We don't really want visitors. We don't have a hotel, so you're gonna have to camp outside, things like that. So I don't want the towns necessarily be just purely random. I want there to be a bit of rhyme and reason to why certain buildings are there and others aren't. And so I'll increase that complexity later. But for now, I think this is what I'm going to do. I am going to do kind of what I described before. Let me keep trying to understand what I actually have here. So the world generation orchestrator takes these definitions and translates them into a simple list of building requests for the layout generator. It doesn't know anything about size or placement yet. It just knows it needs to make what was requested, right? Okay. This is going to be a big change, but I just did a commit, so I can just go for it. Generate interior first. All right, interesting. So I can lay out the engine, places the buildings, find a spot, and it tries to place this newly sized building randomly on the large town grid. It tries to keep random coordinates until it finds a spot that doesn't overlap with any already placed buildings, including a few tiles of padding. I am okay with that. I feel like the tiles of padding could be a little smaller, Maybe there's only one tile of padding. Like, I would like my town to be a little more condensed. But that could be another feature, that some towns are condensed and some aren't. So once a valid spot is found, it stamps the interior tiles onto the town grid and creates paths to connect the new door to the other doors in town. And then they kind of pass under the buildings, but I don't care about that right now. The size, interior layout, and location of each building are procedurally generated and randomized at this stage. Okay, so there are some features of this algorithm that I do want to have be somewhat different. I want the buildings, I want them to, okay, yeah. So I'm gonna start typing out, and then I'll read about the NPCs next. I want to change the building generation. Come on. A bit. First, let's select which, how do I express this? Which, like, occupational type of buildings will be included in the town. For example, I'll change that spelling in a second. For example, a town might have a weapon and armor shop, but not an items shop. For now, always place an inn. All right. Next, I'll actually type the word next. Next, choose the size of the building per type. Yeah, that seems about right. Okay. Next, I don't know if I have to put next every time. I think it gets it from the numbering. Generate an NPC for each occupational building. I don't think I need to specify. I think it understands what an occupational building is, but let me put the list. So here, first let's select which occupational building, or actually a type of building, and then I'll put parentheses, tavern, shop, or inn. I'll put IE. Okay. And then, okay, so generate an NPC for each occupational building and assign them to that building like you have been doing. Okay, next, make a residence and keep track of how many beds are in the residence when you like choose one. In other words, choose a residence size and like pay attention to the bed type and count in the residence. we will need enough beds in the town for each generated NPC. And then, generate NPC, the occupational building, I'm skipping something. What is it? I was thinking about it while I was typing. So if we choose the size of the building per type and then generate an NPC for each occupation building, assign them to that building like you've been doing. Make a residence and keep track of how many beds are in the residence when you choose one. In other words, choose a residence size and pay attention to the bed type and count for that residence. You will need enough beds in the town for each generated NPC. Before that, so I'll make a 4 there, and this will be step 5. Generate between 2 and 4 extra NPCs in the town. Okay, make a residence and keep track of how many beds are in the residence. Okay. In other words, choose a residence size and pay attention to the bed type and count in the residence. You'll need enough beds in the town for each generated NPC. Okay. A twin bed is 1 person. A 2 twin bed is 2 NPCs. Let me just use the same terms. I've been saying NPCs the whole time and not person. And a full bed is also 2 NPCs. You may have more beds than NPCs, but not more NPCs than beds in the town. Once you have the list of buildings to generate, follow the plan you have been using to place the buildings. Okay, so first I'm just trying to fix the population imbalance. I felt like there weren't enough beds in the town, and I think that's why like the innkeeper and the tavern, the barkeep, didn't go anywhere when I went to nighttime. So first I want to make sure there is always a bed for every NPC. And then we'll fix their pathfinding and having them actually go to their homes after that. All right, let's see. That should be good. Oh, I didn't finish reading this, how NPCs are chosen and placed. NPC generations happens after the town layout is complete. It's a mix of deterministic, role-based, and random generation. That's why I think it's not getting the count correct. So hopefully what I typed is going to fix that. Buildings that were successfully placed in the town. Check building type, for each type of building. Check town definition flags. It cross-references this with the Boolean flag in town definition. Generate innkeeper equals true. Okay, if both conditions are met, it creates an NPC with a specific role. This ensures you don't get a weaponsmith if the weapon shop failed to place. Okay, that's good. I agree with that. The existence of occupational NPCs is determined by the buildings that were successfully generated. Okay, the number of ambient residents is randomized in a small range. House assignments. Finally, the system assigns a home to every NPC. Yeah, so I think that's why. It's like the order of how it's thinking about this and the way the algorithm is set up. You may end up with more NPCs than beds. Gather beds. It finds every bed tile in every residence building. Shuffle and assign. It shuffles the list of NPCs and the list of available beds and assigns them 1 to 1. Yeah, this is going to probably require a few rounds of me overhauling the code in order to get it to behave the way I want. Okay, here's its summary. Aspect. House. Okay. Building type predefined by you in the town definition expected building types list. Yeah, I don't like that. I want to get rid of that. That's a legacy thing. So I'm gonna explicitly say I don't want that feature anymore. I do not want to do this step as is anymore. Okay, building layout and size. Procedure generated, the building generated sandbox code. Okay, that's okay. Building placement, randomized by the town layout generator with collision checks. Okay, I'm okay with that. Occupation of these NPCs deterministically created based on the buildings that were successfully placed. Yes. Ambient NPCs randomly generated add life to the town. Okay, I reinforced that. And then NPC housing randomly assigned to the pool of available beds in the residential building. Yeah, and I think I have said that like it's not about the available pool. I need beds. So let's see if this successfully worked. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to be testing this. Hopefully I get at least a small amount of confirmation that I'm in the right direction, maybe a little bit of resolution for you guys. And then I'm going to finish today's stream on that note. So let's see how this goes. First, we'll simplify the town definition class by removing the now obsolete expected building types list. Okay. Yeah, good, because I didn't really like that. So world state might get a lot simpler. So right now it is about 300 lines. Oh, okay. It's only changing town definition. So let me find that. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, the rest of the file will be updated later. Okay, it's kind of baby stepping me through here. All right, so changing this and then get display name. Okay, so we'll go ahead and update this section here. All right, from there to there. Okay, and then world generation orchestrator. This is the core of the change. I will rewrite the world generator orchestrator to contain the new dynamic generation logic. Okay, yep, there's an error in this one. So is it the whole thing? It's looking like this is going to be the entire file. So that's handy. Let's just get to the end of this. Okay. 182, 227. That was a big update. Okay. And then back to world state. I wonder if it's just going to give me the whole file now. Okay, so it's got the beginning. Yeah, I have a feeling it's just giving me the entire file. I didn't have to do the update of the beginning of the file. All right. That's cool. So, but again, I still feel like there's a good chance this is going to get a lot shorter. 316. Oh, it wasn't that much shorter. All right, does it fix the errors? Come on. Okay, no, it's not looking like it. All right, let's see what we get. It's a lot of errors. That is a mess. Okay, I have a feeling that this one error is just masking all the others. I got this error. I may have to give it a refresh of my code base. Hasn't seen my code base in a while. I got more than enough context window. I think it could handle a full refresh if I gave it. And then this would be, if I do that for sure, once this is fixed, I should at least, if anything, stop with this chat. With this this round of chat, because I'll get it probably past, I will get it past 300,000 tokens, and we've done a lot of back and forth with it. Okay, so you've hit a classic C# ambiguity error. Let's see, world generator show. Okay, so it's giving me an update to this file. Is it the whole thing? Still really confused if it's the whole thing. I should really be reading what it said at the top. Okay, it's still generating a little bit, so let me see what it says up here. Oops, too fast. Okay, there you go. Sorry, let me make everybody dizzy here. The fix is to be explicit and tell the compiler exactly which building type you intend to use. Okay, hopefully it's understanding what I'm wanting. All right, let's try it again. Okay, error's gone. Let's see what happens. Okay, working. Going to the town. Okay. Where are my NPCs? Like, I don't see anybody anywhere. Okay. Oh, there's one. Oh, they just whoa! They just start like randomly out in the middle of nowhere, huh? Are you guys gonna move? I know sometimes when they don't have a good pathfinding, they sit for a minute. These might be the two random NPCs, and they don't have a random walk. Okay, all right. I'm not upset about that as long as I know what's going on. So these guys are going to work. So who are you? I'm gonna go item shop. Are you item shop? Yeah. All right. I guessed right. Okay. And I'm gonna go weapon, armor. Okay. Okay, and then we got the innkeeper over here, right? Oh no, just hey wait. Okay, so that's just a random resident. Oh, I should go over and talk to those other two stagnant ones and see why they're not moving. Okay, resident. Oh, this town is way too big. I gotta find the part of the code that is the padding that it talks about. Now, if I go into night mode, I doubt that the AI really picked up on that. I want them to actually go to their beds, but let's see what happens. Yeah, everybody just kind of stopped. Okay, well, I'll go back to daytime. Oh, here's the barkeep. You know, this is a complicated enough situation that I'm trying to create here. I consider this a win. I really do. Like, good enough. Like, yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like there's a little bit of an organic feel to this world now, and this is just one simple town. Yeah, I'm getting excited. Look at that. I mean, they're at their job. And then if I just pressed the night mode, and everybody just kind of paused. You know, I prefer that I prefer them doing nothing than them doing something chaotic. So hopefully that means that there's a nice little chunk of code that just like doesn't exactly know what to do with itself, and it's like, I'm just gonna wait right here, because when I go back to daytime mode, they go back to their normal behavior, which means I can then give the AI the instructions I need to get these NPCs to behave the way I want when night mode happens, which is a good problem to have. I don't have an innkeeper though. The inn is just sitting there with nobody in it, so definitely make sure I try to address that. And I want to make the town more condensed. This is a long walk. Okay, I am going to consider that good for the day. And that was a lot of fun. For me personally, those were a lot of major milestones crossed. I'm starting to feel like I'm actually creating the frame for my world, and then I can start getting to the fun / really hard stuff of like the battle systems, the leveling system, balancing the game, making the game mechanics interesting, integrating like my creatures into the stuff. So I think I'm gonna call it there for the day, and I appreciate AZ your help and your advice and stuff. Thanks for just hanging out with me and watching what I'm doing. And anybody else who decides to watch this afterwards, I appreciate your time, and I will see you guys on the next stream. And I'll check in on you on your stream tomorrow too, AZ. All right. Okay. Talk to you guys later.